Welcome back, Bravehearts, to the Doc of Detox show. Today's show is CBD and THC, and this is a live Q&A. So we've got quite a few questions from yesterday's live show, and we're going to be going through those. And just know that you can send in your live questions on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll collect those too. We've decided that we'll hang in here and answer all the questions, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll do that, and then Matthew and I. Well, let's put it this way. Matthew and I have decided that we're going to do a show about once every month, okay? If we find people want it more, we will do a show about CBD and THC, and we are going to make it as authentic as possible and truthful as possible. And understand something. The only reason why Matthew is here on the show with me today is only one reason, and that's because of his integrity, okay? It truly is. It's all about his integrity. Yeah, you know, I carry like CBD suppositories and some of this and that, but the reality is that Matthew carries the highest quality of products, and this isn't a pitch for him. He's not getting paid. I'm not getting paid for having him here, and I'm not making off of him, so you need to get that. But, you know, I don't think that CBD and THC is the next cure for everything, just as, you know, when people bring things out, they over-dramatize them, but I do know the product is amazing. I do know that it does amazing things, and we want to make sure that you are using it properly, or it won't do those amazing things for you. And we also want to get rid of the things that people kind of make really big claims on, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, because the claims have gone through the roof just as well. But, you know, that's what happens. Anything that's really great, okay, can also get blown up to the point, and it'll backfire in your face.
Well, a lot of people just want that shock marketing value. You know, they hear one story that CBD can do this or THC can do that, and now it's all over their website, it's on their landing pages, and they're just trying to attract someone with a miracle cure. Now, we won't ever say that. We'll just give you the straight goods on it.
But we've seen some miracles with the product, and I will tell you that. And as you know, I'm not big in it. I don't sell it, but you know, I believe in it. The thing is, I'm not here to do everything or be everything, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the God's truth right there. But you know, let's make one thing really clear. 99.9% of the people that are even watching right now, you've been brainwashed. Seriously, Matthew, you've been in health as long as I have, and tell me that you don't see this, that people are programmed by big pharma and they don't even know it. Even though they may not be heading towards pharmaceuticals, they're looking to nature to be that silver bullet, okay, to do it all. And I'm not saying that there couldn't be a silver bullet to put you over the edge and create a healing, but you already had your mind together, okay? You already did some retraining of the brain, and you also took a look at your day and created a perfect day already from the minute you woke up until you went to bed, okay, and how to feed yourself, look after yourself, and love yourself. The reality is you can get somebody that's really terribly in pain or even has a tumor or has something really terrible going on, and they add this one thing, CBD, THC, and it puts them over, and they might not even be doing a healthy program, but the reality is it was that missing ingredient, but it's not always going to turn out that way.
No, so that's a really good point that you bring up. Sometimes there is an ingredient that can do some pretty significant things. But your concept of the magic bullet, we are a society that is looking for something hand or gift wrapped for us on a silver platter. We take that one thing and you know, that's the magic bullet, because from a health perspective, I just find that humans are lazy.
Well, and you know what? But that laziness is not actually laziness. Guess what it is? It's being dumbed down to the fact that you don't believe in yourself. I mean, if I didn't believe in myself, would I get out here and just be la la la, you know, doing this and allow people to attack me all the time, which I get attacked all the time. But the reality is this. I mean, what am I must have my head up my butt if I'm thinking I'm not going to get attacked, because the reality is if you're not talking like the majority, then you've got the majority against you.
Yeah.
So the reality is we know that the majority of the population is looking for a silver bullet. They're too exhausted. They're too tired. right? And they've never learned how to actually train their brain, so they got a monkey brain. So they're all over the place, all over the place, all over the time. You know, they don't even have time for themselves and their family, but where's the time go?
Yeah, so when I said lazy, I guess
Yeah.
I should qualify that. I'm not trying to insult people, but we're kind of put on this thing in life where we're moving so fast. Two people now are required to make the income that one person used to make, keeping families separated.
Yeah, but guess what? You know
People
what?
are going so fast that you need that. They're looking for that. Just tell me what to take.
If
And
you didn't
that
want to
bullet.
be the modern human being, no, modern human doing.
You wouldn't need to do
modern human doing. Come on, come on. 2 cars. Okay, every kid's got to have a cell phone. Okay.
You're right.
All right. There's a TV, at least 3 TVs in a family.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a
yeah.
good point.
Okay. Now take a look at all the packaging, all the packaged products. I mean, I love people when they call and you know what they'll do? They'll call me or they'll actually say on Facebook, I don't have enough money to eat right. You know what? If I came into your house and I saw all the junk that you eat and the junk in your trunk and the drugs that you're on and everything else that you do, you know what? You could eat well twice over. Because I'll tell you something, and you can get it. How do I look today, guys? Okay? All right? And I'll tell you, today I'm tired. I'm a little bit run down, but I don't feel it. You can hear it in my voice, but it's not coming out. And the reality is I drink liquids all day. This is like a quart and a half of hot water. It's the second one. Okay? And then this here is humic and fulvic, right? And then this here is a glass of ATP. Now, I'm not going to have anything else until tonight.
This is, I know we're totally off topic. In
We're
the
not.
weeds,
We're coming
but it's
right to
really
this.
important. So I'm going to tell you a story about Darrell, everybody.
But before you do, you know why I went on this topic? It's all about quality.
Yeah.
And understand something. You go ahead. You go buy someone else's quality. That's why I brought him on the line. That's why he's here. Because of the quality he has. I know where it comes from. I know where he's really getting it. Like Matthew does this like a science, not like a living.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, story about Darrell, and again, off topic, but it's really good and it proves what his point is. And it proves how society is kind of brainwashed today. So, I brought a person who is a prospective cancer patient into Darrell many years ago. And we talked about some of the things that it would take from a product perspective. You know, there's a lot of other things involved in this, but just from a product perspective, this woman said, geez, I'm not sure that I can afford that. And Darrell looked at her, and he went out and he looked in the driveway, and she drove up in a BMW SUV. And then he looks at me and goes, like, what do you do about that? You know, this woman's driving, $70,000 vehicle, and she's worried about, is she worth it enough to spend a little money on her health?
And then,
Like, that tells you something about the
Yeah.
brainwashing. Yeah?
but can I add to that?
Yeah,
Is it okay?
please.
You sure?
Mhm.
Okay. So I decided, and this is what I do. Unless you're a doctor detective, you're not a doctor at all. So you can forget that. So unless you're a detective, because everybody lies. Even the nicest person lies because they're not lying, their subconscious is lying. Because people don't even know that the subconscious rules, schools, and fools them. They don't even know that the subconscious will do anything to protect any belief in there, even if it caused the cancer, even if it's killing you right now. And I dug into her, and the rest of the family's sitting around there, and I said, here's the deal. I said, guess what? It's not because you don't have value for yourself. And we dug in. Her husband doesn't value her, so she has the same amount of value for herself as her husband has for her because he values her money more than he values her. He was already done with her years ago. So if he's done with her and that's supposed to be her partner, her lover, her main frequency that is to plug into each other, then guess what? I'm going to do the honorable thing. I'm not going to commit suicide because I could be Catholic. Oh, I'm just going to knock myself off on a subconscious level, and it's called cancer.
That's my belief as well. We've talked many times before, and a lot of it, if not all of it, has got its root in an emotional origin, a belief system origin, right?
You're raised to believe that people are to fill your heart up and to love you.
Yeah.
And if you pour your heart out and you love everybody, that you will be guaranteed to be tankful, full right up with love continually. You'll never have to go search for it. What a bunch of BS. So that woman was never taught that it was okay to love herself no matter what the world thought about her. And you know what? And the reason why she died, why that she lived a long time, didn't she?
Yeah.
But you know what? You can't override the invisible. And the invisible is called love. And you can't live without love, and you can't live without oxygen. And love is a self-serve job, and I don't care what you say. You can be in love with your kids, your dog, and everybody else, but you fill up your own damn heart. And if you don't fill up your own heart, it'll take more than our products.
Yes.
Okay, and it'll take more than prayer, and because prayer doesn't even last. Because when you pray for someone, you're giving them your love, your energy. But what happens when you don't have time to do that? Listen to me. Healing's a self-serve job. Love is a self-serve job. Relationships, the most important relationship is with yourself, not with your wife, your husband, your children. Because if you can make a solid relationship with yourself, then things like CBD and THC are going to go, whoo, they're the rocket you needed.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, great topic, but it's extremely important. So the best products in the world can be found at this guy's shop. We're putting out what we believe are the highest quality, most trustworthy CBD products. Those things are great, and they'll take you a certain place. But I know Darrell preaches this before we get right into the nuts and bolts of THC and CBD. Darrell preaches you got to clean yourself out. You got that belief has got to come from in with
everything
you,
is vibration,
and I believe it 100%.
And the reason why I brought Matthew on is because guess what? I have so many patients that are going and getting products, and whether you want to believe it or not, but up to 95% of the products out there being sold right now are fraudulent. And that's the way it is. Okay, so you can believe it or not, 5%, and I'm not willing to risk that. So I'm going to guide people to Matthew. Matthew, you want to take over?
Absolutely. Okay.
You want to start with your questions?
Yeah, you bet. So I compiled a bunch of the questions that came in from yesterday, and many of them are along the same topic lines. So I'll kind of cover these in greater detail, and it'll probably mean that we'll hit most of your individual questions.
And
then we'll
please
move
don't
into
feel
specifics.
obligated to buy his products either. You know what?
No.
You're here for information, and then you decide where you want to go. But make
Absolutely.
sure you take this information to whoever you're buying and make sure that they check off the boxes. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Bought a watermelon yesterday, got home, cut it open, and the thing was kind of 20% off. It went right back to the store. Now, why? Well, because I'm cheap. It's $5. No, because the reality is, if we don't keep giving back these people who are giving us half-ass products, they're going to continually do it. Okay.
That's a good point. Okay, so to set the kind of context for today's discussion, the main reason that you would consider a cannabinoid therapy, predominantly CBD, is for two main reasons, two really specifically important reasons. The first is the support of your endocannabinoid system, and we talked about this at length last time. This is the largest receptor system in the body. It has huge biological significance in mammals. It predates humans. It's extremely important. Supplementing it, keeping it optimally functioning, is one of the most important systems that you can support in the body, because its prime function is regulating homeostasis. And that is balancing the wild swings we normally go on between opposing forces in the body. Keeping us in a nice level.
And emotions.
Absolutely. Well, blood chemistry changes emotion.
And
right?
let's never forget, that these products are one of the best things for trying to bring that emotional wave. And it'll take it like this for you.
Exactly.
Okay?
Well, you have a response to something. You're releasing blood chemistry. Does blood chemistry alter your emotional state?
Boom.
Of course. Right?
Well, it's a pinball.
Yeah.
They do it to each other.
So, balancing your endocannabinoid system, which helps with homeostatic balance in the body, is number one. And number two, very powerful all-natural anti-inflammatories. And we as a species today, you can speak as well as anyone in the world on this, we are toxically inflamed as human beings.
Well, we've got the blue light coming off of this major light here, blue light here, We got the blue light from the two things here. So the reality is we're blue light poisoned. And does anybody want to know what blue light does to the cannabinoid system? Do you know what it does? Destroys it. Destroys it. That's why we're craving CBD, THC so much, because what was naturally used to be made, the blue light, the same people that are causing all this rift around the world right now, they had a choice. They could have made all this blue light to actually be more like Tesla light and actually heal us. They're not our friends. Anyways, go ahead.
No, but blue light will destroy our own ability to create our own endocannabinoids, the ones we make naturally in our body. So supplementation becomes pretty important. Okay, so those are the two biggest reasons to consider supplementing your endocannabinoids.
So take yourself, the further you take yourself away from nature and from homeostasis, the more you're going to need this.
Yes, right?
That's it.
Bring ourselves back with supplementation we might be missing.
Yeah, you got to understand something. Back, let's even say 1,000 years ago, there was no need for supplementation.
No.
Why would you need supplementation? You only need supplementation because of something that's missing. Something was stolen.
Food is bankrupt. Soils are bankrupt. Vegetables are picked green 3,000 kilometers away and shipped without the nutrients brought into them. This is why we need supplementation these days.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the most common things people said is, I have a problem with this, I have a problem with that, I have a problem with this, will CBD help me and how much should I take? Okay, so let me get into an explanation that's really important that you understand. Let's pretend that Darrell and I are the exact same size, basically the same age, same metabolism. We have the exact same pain. Let's say it's a little arthritis in our knuckles. But let's pretend Darrell is a strict vegetarian with an incredible, impeccable diet, does all of these preventative things.
Whole plant-based eater.
Okay. And his levels of systemic inflammation are extremely low because of how he lives, eats, and functions.
About 5%.
Let's pretend that I am a raging alcoholic that eats McDonald's 3 times a day and sits on the couch and never gets any exercise. My levels of systemic inflammation are going to be through the roof.
95 to 98.
So even though we're the exact same size and have the exact same pain, when we put CBD into our system, most of the CBD that I put in my system is going through systemic circulation and finding a way to help combat the rampant systemic inflammation in my system. Whereas Darrell's, that CBD doesn't have to work very much on systemic inflammation. It heads right to the pain point and fixes the problem. So I will need more CBD than Darrell will for the exact same pain point because of my levels of systemic inflammation. So for that reason, it's almost impossible to just tell you out there, take this much for this particular pain. It really depends upon...
You are the best gauge.
Yeah.
You're the best gauge.
So then people say, okay, well then how do I do it? Now, let me go through a little bit of a dosing hierarchy that is documented for the last decade or so, and these are generalities. Low doses of CBD in the 15 to 25 milligrams of CBD per day range are technically supposed to be useful for things like mild pain, mild inflammation, sleep, mood, anxiety, things on the lower end. You go up the next step. Now you're talking 75 milligrams of CBD a day. These are people with multiple sclerosis that they want to help getting some control over, fibromyalgia, et cetera, spectrum, where you're talking epilepsy and cancers. And these people are taking hundreds of milligrams of CBD a day. And I want to be very clear. CBD is non-toxic. They've run experiments where they've tried to kill lab rats, monkeys, 1,500, 3,000, 5,000 milligrams of CBD a day, and there's really no harmful effect at all. So, but you do need to get up into these really high doses for things like epilepsy, cancers, etc. So you got to figure out where you are in that spectrum. If somebody out there listening today is epileptic, I'm telling you, you need to be looking in the hundreds of milligrams a day category, and you can always get a hold of me through
You.
Darrell, and I'm
No.
Just
Can
get a
they
hold
get a
of me.
hold of you?
Absolutely.
Okay, how do they get a hold of you?
info@truenorthholistics.biz. So if you've got something serious
put
that
that
you
up?
want to talk about, you're welcome to get a hold of me. We can talk about that specifically. Most humans are looking at CBD to do some of the more minor things. Mild pain, inflammation, headaches, menstrual cramps, mood, anxiety, sleep, arthritis. And you're talking in the lower dose range.
I think no matter how healthy you are today, unless you live out in the country and you've got rid of all these gadgets, everybody could use some CBD.
Without question.
And so I just want you to understand that, I always want to be logical about things, and I think that until you can have your life return back to the most natural environment, then your mind cannot make a natural environment.
Yeah, that's right. So taking that point, me as an example, most people consider trying CBD for the first time because they've got a pain point. They've got something that they've heard CBD can help them with that they want to try CBD for. In my particular case, I don't really have a pain point. I don't really have something that CBD is historically good at, really being effective against. So I take it for the simple reason that I know my endocannabinoid system is deficient. I know that I'm better served by supplementing my endocannabinoid system. So for me,
Yeah, but how old are you now?
47.
So 47 years old, he's making, okay, here's the deal. You got to look at your endocannabinoid system as a visa. And whether you like it or not, even though you're not using it, it's being depleted. It's being depleted by the environment that we live in. If you don't make some kind of payments on it, okay, and it totally gets eliminated, okay, there's where we call old age. That's what you call old age, because you're just going to feel old age because you don't have anything that is natural in the body that is like a defender, like is a buffering system, because that's really what I believe it is. It helps to buffer things and, like you said, homeostasis.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, well said. So I do
Making
it-
payments.
That's an interesting analogy, and I
Making
like that. I'm going
payments.
to use that. So I take it just to fight systemic inflammation because I know we've all got that. It doesn't matter how healthy you eat, and to support my endocannabinoid system so I stay in more homeostatic type patterns. So for me, the biggest thing I notice with CBD, I know this sounds a little hokey, but it's mood. I find that I'm extremely consistent. I have great control over my emotions. Something frustrating that would normally send somebody over the edge, it's not that big of a deal. My fuse becomes a little longer, I guess you could say. So I know it's hard to tangibly measure that, but I can tell that my mood
Okay,
is
chemicals and hormones, okay, they create everything. They create the emotion, and they also create the physical body. So you have to get that. So that's why when I keep yakking on all the time about that image creates thought, thought creates emotion, emotion creates a frequency that then triggers the brain to release those certain chemicals. So if you're not in control of your images and your thoughts, then you tear your body apart. So the reality is when he's using CBD, because it works on hormones and chemicals.
Yeah, it's all a blood-to-blood
And so
chemistry, yeah.
even though it's physical in nature, when it goes in, it actually triggers things in the brain, and at the speed of light, it starts doing what it should do. And that's what chemicals and hormones do. They work at the speed of light in the human body. That's why you can see such a change.
Exactly. And we talked about this on Sunday a little bit. Let's say you have a fight or flight response, which us as humans, you'd kind of mention 50 times a day. That's really how this world has got us going, from one catastrophe to the next, to that news story. And we may have a reason why they're doing this, but
we don't. I want you to say what you're going to say, but I just want to say this is so important, everybody. Don't listen to them anymore. Turn them off. Okay? Turn them off. Go ahead.
Exactly. So the point is that you have this fight or flight response, and you're flooding your system with adrenaline and cortisol. And if you're doing that 50 times a day, that stuff is very beneficial to you because it can help you run away from that saber-toothed tiger. but we don't really have saber-toothed tigers to run away from anymore.
It's a paper tiger right now with no teeth.
Yeah. And it's destructive to the body, right? It takes a ridiculous amount of energy to remetabolize these things down after they've been released into the body. It puts the body in a position of fight or flight, which means all power systems to the shields and to the movement engines, not immune system, not growth, not repair. You're in that run away from a saber-toothed tiger or get ready to fight condition.
CBD
right?
brings you back into the parasympathetic, which is the healing state.
Yeah.
As long as you're in the fight-flight mode, you cannot heal. This is why cancer patients, if they don't do something to change the program and put them into a parasympathetic state, and that's where CBD does, because it'll actually help to pull you back, and maybe even a little THC, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So dosing. Here's how you're going to have to do it. Let's say one of the tinctures that we sell on our website is about 500 milligrams of CBD in that bottle of tincture. There's a 1 milliliter eyedropper in it. You take a full milliliter, it's going to be about 16.5 milligrams of CBD in one dropper. Because I know everybody out there today is toxically, systemically inflamed and probably has an under-supplemented endocannabinoid system, I might suggest you take half of that dropper in the morning.
So how much is that again?
Well, that'll be half of 16.5 milligrams. So
Okay.
call it 8. What I'm ultimately saying is try taking 2 of those droppers a day, which will give you about 33 milligrams of CBD a day. And for some of you with more acute pain or greater levels of systemic inflammation, you need more. Others that maybe just have mild mood issues, you might need less. But I'm giving you an overall example that you can work with here.
And if I can say something, you're not just taking it for the pain, everyone. You're taking it to break the program of fight-flight, okay? Because if you can dose yourself enough to alter your chemistry, to calm yourself and put yourself back into a parasympathetic state enough, maybe you could start running that program instead of running over yourself.
Exactly. You know how many times I've seen people get swept away by some emotional, ego-based reaction to something that happened in the world around them, and they just go off on a tangent and they miss so much that life has to offer. And you can just see the toxic blood chemistry sending them into a tailspin, and you know what that's doing to their physical body.
Well, it's not just that. You need to stay away from those people because, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a generic dosing discussion because many of you were inquiring. So if you were to take 2 of those droppers a day, it'll give you a total of about 33 milligrams a day. But as we talked last time, do not take them all at once. We talked last time, and I'll go into it again today because many of you wanted to hear more about this. Macrodosing versus microdosing. Macrodose is you take a huge amount all at once, you get a massive spike of ingredient, most of it ends up being a complete waste of time and money, and 4 to 6 hours later, that nutrient is no longer in your body anymore. So it's not doing you good anywhere because it's gone. It's been excreted or used.
So say somebody was really knocked down hard with a cold flu and they're achy all over. What would you tell them to do if it was my body weight or my size?
So are we talking CBD supplementation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say take 2 of those droppers a day, so 33
How would I
milligrams.
break it up?
Half half a dropper 4 times a day.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay.
Good.
So you got to get 4
That's
doses
really good,
plus
guys.
a day, guys,
Yeah.
if you can. I mean, listen, I understand there's busy lifestyles, but
Not
invest
busy
in
enough
yourself.
for half an eyedropper under the
Right?
tongue.
Invest in yourself and care
Hold
enough
on.
about yourself.
You take that half eyedropper 4 times a day, you'll have more time and more energy.
It's true.
Nobody has any time when they have no energy.
Exactly. Right? So
Yeah.
you can say you're busy all you want. but-
Whatever.
Yeah. So take a microdose.
You know what busy means, right?
No.
It's not important. It's not a priority.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
And what you're really saying is,
Yeah.
I'm not a priority.
That's right.
And that says something. So
Yeah.
make yourself a priority. So take a half a dropper, which is about 8 milligrams in a dose, 4 times a day, in a perfect world separated by at least 2 to 3 hours or more. 4 hours to 6 hours if you can.
Beautiful.
But you want it evenly spread out as much as possible. If you can take it 6 times a day, split that dose into go ahead. Because what you want is to replicate a grazing animal. They're taking in small, usable amounts of nutrient consistently almost all day long.
Yeah.
Remember, the body does not have unlimited receptors for every nutrient.
Yeah, receptors.
You've got a limit. And once you spike beyond that limit, anything above that, I said this last time, but anything above that receptor saturation point, it's just going to go floating on by and get excreted. So the smaller the dose, more frequently, the better. Okay? So that's what I would suggest. So you take 2 of those droppers, so a total of 33 milligrams, split over at least 4 doses during the day, and you do that for at least a week. Then you have a look at, so you watch and observe yourself.
How you feel?
How do you feel? How am I sleeping? How are my emotional reactions? How's my pain doing? Did I have any inflammation points or sore knees or joints that maybe feel a little better? And then if you clearly have not achieved the level of relief that you're looking for after a week, double the dose or add 50% to the dose and try that for another week. And what you do is you keep ramping up slowly until you achieve that therapeutic result that you're looking for.
When do I know when to...
Smart, okay? Because our goal is not... So here's what's going to happen. Because you're so toxically inflamed, we all are, a lot of that CBD is going to be used to fight inflammation in your body, not alleviate the pain point that you're concerned with. So the first month or 2 or even 3, a good portion of that CBD is going to be used fighting inflammation. So you may have, in 2 weeks, you may have found an effective dose of CBD that's solving your arthritis in your fingers.
So depending on how raging the fire is inside your body, okay, how long it's been going on and how much damage is done is going to be dependent on how much has to go there before we go to repair.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? So, but Darrell brings up a really good point. We don't want you to stay on this high dose forever. The true medicine, true healing is the minimum effective dose that you can possibly be on.
Right.
Okay? We don't want to overshoot in any way. That does something called downregulation. So when you have too much of something too often, so people are popping opioid painkillers all day, all week, all month. You ever notice how the pain relief you get from one opioid painkiller at the beginning, down the road you need 2 to do the same job, and then you need 3 to do the same job. That's because you're constantly macrodosing the body with whatever that ingredient is, and you're doing it repeatedly. So the body starts to think, well, hey, this nutrient's coming in big supply all the time. I don't have to be efficient, it's always coming. And so it kind of gets lazy at utilizing it, right? Whereas, have you ever heard the analogy, eat more small meals a day to rev up the metabolism? That's kind of like microdosing. You're giving the body just enough or smaller amounts so when it sees it, it says, I better get to it and use this to my maximum potential.
You know what? He just said something so important. And that is making the body always work to be efficient.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why, you know what, they call us useless eaters because we're always eating. So the more you eat, the less you absorb. You just become very bad at it. Right? And this is why I only eat one meal, one blender drink a day. Rest is just lots of nourishing liquids.
Yep.
I'm a liquid kind of guy, right?
Yep. But this is downregulation, right? A person who can drink 1 glass of wine and feel tipsy, if they keep drinking wine, in a few months it's going to take 2 to do.
Hey, did you ever hear about the alcoholic that never had a hangover?
No.
That's right. He never did. After a while, you won't even have a hangover. Okay.
Oh, you just become so tolerant.
Because you become so tolerant.
Yeah.
There's no hangover.
So downregulation of systems happens in everything that we see all the time, and we want to avoid it. So we always believe in get that dose down. You may have to ramp up to alleviate a certain pain, but after a while, always on a protocol that I would suggest is at some point, 3 months down the road, you're going to want to drop that dose by 50% for a week and say, am I getting the same relief? If so, The next week, drop it another 50% and work your way down until you notice that you're not getting the relief anymore. Then just go back up one step. That should be your minimum effective dose.
Yeah, and then you're actually, you know what you'd be doing if you actually could do that each week and cut that down? That would mean that you're actually changing, and that somewhere there you've learned to love yourself a little bit more. You've learned to not react, not attack. You've learned to just take more positive action in your life.
Exactly, right? Not to mention that all through that period, because of the anti-inflammatory properties, you're going to be decreasing your systemic inflammation, which is going to get into your gut. As you know, 85% of all autoimmune disease probably comes from a toxically inflamed gut. And so overall, systemically, you're just going to notice a whole bunch of improvements. But the point is, start slow, go for a week or so, maximum 10 days, to get a feel for where your body's at, increase the dose by 50 to 100%, stick to that for a week to 10 days, and keep going up until you find the relief you're looking for. And then give it 30 to 90 days at that dose. Because remember, you've got so much inflammation in your body that it can work wonders on, that it could easily take 90 days to get rid of all that systemic inflammation, or at least get it under control. And then step 2 is start backing the dose down to find your minimum effective dose.
Beauty. So people are asking you again. They want to know how to get your products.
Okay.
And how to get in touch with you. You want to tell them?
Sure. So if you want to get in touch with me directly, you can email me at info@truenorthholistics.biz. Our website can be found at truenorthholistics.biz. And that's some of the other questions that I got, and I should probably just go over it now.
No, we're not done. We're just starting.
No, this is about, it's related to these products and this website. So some people ask me, how do I know again that your products are good, or I can be confident in your products? So I just wanted to go over that briefly, because to me as a scientist, it's extremely important. For me, this wasn't
and don't take this as you need to go to his place. Just take this as now you're going to know what place you can go to.
And just use what I'm saying. If you want to vet somebody else out, just use what I'm saying. This is how you should vet them. It's how I did before I had my own products. Okay? So, number 1, all of our hemp is currently U.S. grown and certified. As many of you may know, in 2018, the United States passed the Farm Bill that included hemp and made it legal to be cultivated for the extraction of cannabinoids, whereas before it was just for rope and textiles and so on and so forth. So that means that the hemp farming industry, for the purpose of CBD, is regulated in the United States, which is a really good thing. It means the certain farming practices have to be adhered to, etc., etc. And when it's regulated, certified or regulated hemp will sell well on a market, whereas unregulated, they won't even accept it. So right away, we stick to the best possible hemp strains, U.S. grown and fully certified. Step 2 is we take that hemp to an extraction facility, because step 2 is take that plant and extract the hemp oil from it. Okay, many of you have heard of hemp oil. Now, there's different ways to extract that stuff. There's better techniques and worse techniques, but the most important thing to me is the facility that's doing it fully CBD certified? There's lots of people out there who have got a warehouse and they've picked a model of extraction equipment, and they can extract hemp oil from the hemp plant, but I steer away from that, because I want to know that my facility is legally and fully certified in that state by the regulations put forth in that state to be an authorized hemp extractor. They are subjected to audits and ISO principles and good manufacturing practices, etc., etc. So I'm guaranteed to have the most stringently certified facility extracting my hemp oil. Now that's your starting raw ingredient. Now we get a certificate of analysis run on that hemp oil. And a certificate of analysis is, if you're doing it right, sent to a third-party independent lab not related to the people who extracted it, obviously, and they run a full panel on it for cannabinoid contents, pesticide, heavy metals, fungal presence, etc., etc. And it should be a full panel. And then we make sure that that panel is passing with flying colors in every single capacity. So now we've extracted that raw material, the hemp oil, in the best possible way at the best possible facility, and then tested to ensure that it did turn out as the best possible hemp oil. Now we take that to step 2, and we can now incorporate that into the products like tinctures and gummies and topicals. When we do that, we have that manufacturing made in a fully GMP certified facility. The organization that we have do our manufacturing, they've got a nutraceutical, fully licensed nutraceutical farming or a manufacturing division. They have an OTC manufacturing certification and division. They have a cannabinoid and CBD certificate. Like, this is a serious, legitimate, certified GMP facility. They then make our products. We then get those products sent to a third-party independent lab for analysis. And again, a certificate of analysis comes back analyzing the finished product. And they have to pass every single category with flying colors, or we just don't put them on the shelf. So that's a very complicated and cumbersome process. But at the end of the day, like I said on Sunday, if I wouldn't put it in my children's body, then I wouldn't put it on the shelf. So we go through that process and all of those steps to ensure that what you're getting is pure, free of heavy metals, free of pesticides, and of the highest possible quality and manufacturing quality that you can get. And we provide our certificates of analysis for you, for your reference, if you'd like them. They're posted on our website. We show and share them freely. So that's a little bit about us. Others had asked me, how do I know if this company is good or that company is good? So I mentioned something called a COA, a Certificate of Analysis. And this is something you should become familiar with if you want to vet a CBD company or a CBD product. Go to the company that you're getting it from. Ask them for a certificate of analysis. And they should have 2. They should have one for the CBD that went into that tincture, and they should have one for the tincture after it was made. Not all will. You don't need the first one as long as you've got the second one, because the analysis will pick up the CBD impurities if there were any. So just get, if you can get 2, great, but if you can just get the one on the tincture itself or the gummy itself or whatever the finished product is, fantastic. Then call that company, the lab, the independent lab who did it, and reference to them the batch number and the test number and the date and the client and so on and so forth, and ask them to validate that they did that test, work for that company, and that the numbers on it they concur with. That's what they have in their file, because there was no photoshopping in the document done. And if they say yes, then you're good to go. And that's takes some time, but that's the best possible way for you to get that information.
Good.
Okay, so that was long-winded, but that was a
It wasn't long-winded. It had to be done.
Had to be done. Okay.
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay. On the topic of products, people said, let's say at your website or others, what are the best products for me? We talked a bit about it before. I'm not a big believer in smoking joints of the flower. I'm not a huge believer in vaporizing the CBD because I'm not ever really sure what's in the other vape liquid there. So tinctures are probably still one of your best possible options out there. We talked about them at length. So our site, we've got, to get started with, and Darrell and I are working on additional products and additional lines that bring better delivery mechanisms, better formulations. But what we've got there today is tinctures, topicals, and some gummies because they're convenient. And I'll explain why they might be helpful. Now again, the topicals that we've got there, those are intended for topical use. We are not claiming, as we talked last time, particle size. We are not claiming that they're small enough to go through your skin and into your bloodstream and go fight systemic inflammation or a pain point in your big toe. That's not what that's for. That's for a topical issue like pain, inflammation, irritation, psoriasis, etc. Okay? We then focus on the tincture because it's the single best method to get the greatest bioavailability into your system. And we also have gummies. Well, why do we have gummies? Well, sometimes people don't like taking a tincture bottle to work or to the gym. But I just told you earlier, it's really important to microdose periodically throughout the day. So maybe it's a little more convenient to throw a couple of gummies in a bag or in your pocket, and then you keep popping them to keep that microdosing going throughout the day. So it's a helpful tool to assist in your microdosing. Don't replace taking tinctures with gummies. It's just a really helpful tool to continue that microdosing throughout the day. If, let's say, you're going to be away from your tincture bottle for an extended period and don't feel like taking it with you, take a few of those. The other good thing about a gummy is that, yes, you chew it and swallow it right away, but like a piece of steak, it's got gummy material and matter, and the CBD is embedded in it. So your body digests it more slowly than the tincture, which is much more direct and much quicker access to the CBD. So it does have a tendency to work its way through your stomach and move down your small intestine a bit before it's totally decomposed. So there's a bit of a time release function with a gummy, which is a good thing. So it gives you another delivery mechanism which can slow down and spread out, kind of like microdosing more periodically, that CBD dose. So that's what the gummies are for. The tinctures, we've talked about them ad nauseum now. Once again, I can't stress enough, take it more than one time, 4 to 6 times a day if you can, and hold it under your tongue for 2 minutes before swallowing it. That's just absolutely key.
Cool.
Okay, so I think we covered those ones. Okay, now we can get into...
Anyways, I want to thank everybody, though, for all the great questions that they sent into us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, some of these questions are just really well thought out.
And there was an overwhelming amount of them, so I'm trying to synthesize
So, yeah,
them
we're
into
taking
topics.
the ones that...
seem to have most hits around them. Okay, so here was another big one that people wanted to know, and it was about pets, and it makes sense because everybody loves their pets, and I think some of the studies say that we love or spend more money on our pets than our kids sometimes. So the question was, can I give CBD to my pet or cannabinoids to my pet? And another individual asked, my dog just started seizing. Is this good for my dog? Okay, so here's a whole bunch of information about pets. Absolutely, you can give this to pets. THC, stay away from. So THC is the psychoactive cannabinoid in this plant. And what it does to a human psychoactively, it will do to a dog or cat 20 times more powerfully. So it really gets them high. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I had shared a story about my cat, and this was a while ago, and so I didn't have the latest data on how much more effective THC was, and there was some THC in the oral cannabis oil I was giving my cat. And truth be told, the poor thing was really spaced out for a while, but the result was absolutely incredible. You know, if I knew then what I know now, I would have focused about a 90% diet of CBD with her and maybe a 10% diet of CBD. So keep THC away from pets. If your pet has got a very serious cancer, you can get a hold of me and we can talk about it, and we can find suppositories for pets. We can talk about delivering THC orally to help with that cancer fighting, but that's a special case. For pets, for dogs, things like anxiety, nervousness, separation anxiety, when's mom or dad coming back home, that drives these dogs nuts most days long, right? And they're nervous. So for those type of anxiety and mood disorders and separation anxiety and their sleep patterns, CBD is fantastic. Inflammation, joints. How many breeds out there end up with inflammation in the hips and soreness in the joints because of the
Dogs are now the sickest animals on this planet.
right? So it's
Nothing sicker.
incredible for joints and arthritis and inflammation in our pets. It's obviously very good for their coats. It's great for their brain. It's great for their immune system. And just like in humans, it's great for appetite regulation and so on and so forth. So yes, it's a big, I feed it to my dogs all the time. Absolutely 100%. How do you do it? So I add it to my dog's food. Just take the dropper. Use the unflavored one. Don't use our peppermint flavored one. Okay. And to be totally safe, I would use our isolate product, not our full spectrum product.
What's the difference?
Okay. Isolate is 100% CBD and nothing else. Our full spectrum has got minor trace other cannabinoids in it. CBC, CBG, and a little bit of THC, tiny bit, under the legal allowable limit, passes all legalities, but it's for those people. We talked the other day about the entourage effect, and some people believe that a full profile of plant cannabinoids might be more effective than one isolated compound in it. Right. So we offer both, and so stay away from the full spectrum because there is a tiny bit of THC in it. Like I said, if we're talking cancer or something, get a hold of me and we'll figure THC out for your pet.
And just to break in a little bit, just so you know, we will do a topic like maybe every 2 weeks, because one topic can take a whole show. Especially, we're going to allow you to call in, or you're going to be able to call in on every one of these shows, or you'll be able to send in live. So when we talk about a topic, we won't do what we did yesterday. Do a show yesterday, do a Q&A today. We'll do a topic. So if you want to watch, maybe you can spell out maybe 2 or 3 shows in a row so people can think about that.
Yeah, sure.
You know, every 2 weeks we'll do a topic. If you're interested, that topic, we want to train you, not just give you little tidbits. You know, people need to know this information and know it well, because understand something. It is nature, it's non-toxic, but you want the most out of it. And by getting the most and the proper information means when you go to do something with your family, you're not going to mess up. And they're going to believe in you. Yeah. All you got to do is just say, I know what I'm talking about, and then it doesn't work for them, and then they're not going to believe in you with anything else. My God, it's really difficult to get across to a family member that you know what you're doing, right? Because they can't find health anywhere else, so why would they find it with you? So we want to make sure that if we're going to do this show, we want you to know that you can really trust in the information.
Well, it's a great point. So Darrell, for as long as I've known you, you've always said, I don't want you to keep coming back to me for help. I want to train you to heal yourself, and if I never have to see you again, I actually did my job. That's kind of what you say all the time.
Well, that's what a doctor's supposed to be.
That's what it should be. Right. And I couldn't agree with it more. So the things that we'll talk to you about cannabinoids and CBD, not everybody can get my products. They don't have access to them. That's great. Find these people in your local area, and you're now empowered with the information that we'd like to give you.
Watch what happens when you start getting some intelligence about this product. Okay, you won't be wasting your money, but that's not even the money part. It's about the difference you're making with your family. That's it right there. You know what? I just want my family to believe in me because I love them so much. I want to heal them. Well, we got to make sure you got the right info.
That's correct. Well said.
Okay.
So back to that pet. So I have a small dog. So if your dog's under, let's say, 50 pounds, you probably want to go a half dropper, which is about 8 milligrams in the morning on the food, and a half dropper on the food at night. And that's kind of the dose that I work with. Now, if your dog, so for example, my Jack Russell Terrier, she doesn't have bad hips or arthritis yet. She's relatively young, so she gets a maintenance supplementation dose. If your dog is starting to get older, has arthritis, you may want to up that. But again, go with the same methodology we just talked about for humans, for you. Put your dog on that half a dropper morning, half a dropper night dose for a week, 10 days. See if you notice a difference. If they're still really limping, you probably want to double that dose and keep going up, okay? So it would work the same. Very, very good for pets. I highly recommend it. Now, if your dog is epileptic, so there was somebody who said your dog is epileptic. So I did a little bit of work with some doctors in Canada who were doing a clinical veterinarian study for companion animals and osteoarthritic pain. And so that really meant these animals got pain in the joints, they got arthritis in the hips, and you'd have them walk on this weight meter, and it would see how they were favoring certain legs. And so the study administered CBD to them, and it was looking at how effective it was, and it proved extremely effective for osteoarthritic pain in companion animals. That wasn't my point. Some of the side effects that were seen in these studies were it seemed to be assisting in the reparation of older dogs' kidneys and livers, which was an unexpected effect. There was improved kidney and liver function for these older dogs. And there was a few dogs in the study that were epileptic. And some real interesting data came out of that. So the very first day that this epileptic Labrador retriever, I believe, or it was a beagle, the very first day that it got CBD, it didn't have any seizures. And so they kept it on this protocol because they were working on the hips, and it was over time. And so I think it was over a course of 2 weeks. Didn't seize for 2 weeks. And at the end of the trial, that was for osteoarthritic pain, they stopped the dosing. The experiment was over, but the owner of that beagle dropped the dose in half, and it still kept the seizures at bay. So that is indicative of what we were talking about for humans before. There was a lot of systemic inflammation built up in that dog from blue light, from terrible dog food quality, etc., etc. And seizures were stopped for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then she was able to drop the dose in half and keep that dog's seizures at bay. So, yes, CBD for epilepsy works in dogs just like it does in humans. I highly recommend it, and again, just work towards that minimum effective dose. And then once you get your seizures under control, stick to that for 30 days or more, and then start working down to see if you can keep the seizures at bay with a lesser amount. So thank you for asking that question about your dog.
Good.
Cancers, as you know, we've talked about in animals. I shared my cat story. It's absolutely doable, but again, THC in animals is something you really have to be considerate about. So if any of you've got a specific case, we can talk about it.
Good.
Okay, so that's the pets topic that many of you were interested in. Okay, we had somebody who had said, I'm taking high-dose THC for prostate cancer. I would like more info about THC and CBD. And I got many people who were talking about cancers, and I know we talked about cancer examples last time, and I know we don't say the words that it cures cancer. Last time we were joking that there was a high level of coincidence between cannabinoid therapy and the reduction of the expression of cancer. So we'll just stick with those parameters. But cancer is a very serious topic. Every time that I have a cancer patient that comes into my life, I do two things. I call him, and I call another doctor that I trust who is a doctor. I'm not. She is a cannabis doctor, okay? And the reason I want a cannabis doctor on the case when you are a cancer patient is because, yes, I can prescribe your protocol. Yes, I can do it, no problem. But I want a doctor on your case. I want them to be able to look at your health portal, track your blood work, move with you, and they'll usually, so this doctor on the island, which this is Vancouver Island in Canada, Dr. Wolfe, knows her. I've introduced them. We've had a conversation about working in conjunction with the cannabis-based therapy and Dr. Wolfe's various methodologies so that we're working in synergy with one another.
And if I can say this,
yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're calling or not calling, but watching this show from. Seriously. People have this thing in their head that if they go see a doctor in person, physical, it makes no difference. I'll tell you what makes the difference. Does the doctor care? Does the doctor really know what they're talking about? And is the doctor really in health?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
That's right.
And I've proven that for the last 30 years. 30 years I've been doing consults all over the world, globally, never meeting people. Might meet them on Skype or might do a FaceTime. But the reality is, when you know their symptoms, their weight, their blood type, a few different things like this, that's all you need to know. You know what? Think about this. Think about all the tests that people get when they go to a clinic. Does it really help? I'm not saying not get tested, but I'm trying to tell you is that if somebody really knows their work, they just need to go a little bit of your history, and they know what it takes to make a healthy body.
Exactly.
Yep. What does it take? I mean, if you don't know what it takes to make a healthy body, it doesn't really matter how many tests you do, how far you had to drive. the biggest one I get is, we even took him to Mayo Clinic. You know. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, great point. And find a cannabis doctor, okay? If somebody's dealing with cancer, get a hold of Dr. Wolfe. Find a cannabis doctor as well in your area or remotely, because most of them can do exactly what Darrell's saying, is consult remotely. You can go in and get...
There's absolutely no difference, and guess what? It's actually better. Because do you remember a doctor? Do you remember your doctor, the one you would go to? Did you have to make an appointment every time? How would you like to just pick up the call? Pick up the phone. Well, that's what we do. Pick up the phone. You know, when somebody gets a consult from us, they get lifetime support from us. You know, whether they're going through Matthew or just through me or through both of us, it's got to be that way. So understand that. We're not telling you to come to us. We're telling you to go to somebody that says, make an appointment next week and I'll see you. Yeah, that could be too late. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We're talking about human beings here.
Exactly. And the C word tends to be one of the scariest things people can go through.
But it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but you want to feel that you're being cared for properly, right?
I'm going to let you take it away, but I want to say this one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between somebody who has a bad inflammatory problem and cancer is just a little bit extra inflammation.
That's
You
right.
can be diagnosed today by having cancer, and tomorrow, if you weren't so stressed out, the inflammation wouldn't have shown so high. You think I'm kidding? Do you know the difference between having cancer and just an autoimmune disease that it hasn't hit cancer yet? It could have been the difference between an argument on the phone.
Yep.
And that's it. Once it's like this, right? So you're this close, and then all of a sudden you put over the edge, bing, doesn't mean it stays there, then it might have dropped. Then it comes back. Let me tell you something. Inflammation is the problem. And this is what we're talking about here today. If you were an inflammation specialist and you knew how often when you're eating certain foods and acting a certain way, you were blowing yourself up with inflammatory symptoms, would you stop it? Anyways, go ahead.
Exactly. Well said. Okay, so for those of you asking about cancer, number one, you can always call him. I highly recommend it. You find yourself a cannabis
But remember,
doctor.
we're not treating the cancer. We're treating the inflammation, and we're treating parts of your personality that's creating it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, a cannabis protocol for cancer goes something like this. Each doctor will have their certain take on it, but you need a doctor that can access your health portals. They can see your blood work if you get any done, or the reports from the oncologist, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And if they know what they're doing, well, you have a decision to make. Am I going to go the route of radiation and chemo, or am I going to go the natural route? I'm not here to judge you. You do whatever you feel is right. But some people say I want a combined approach. And if your cannabis doctor is the right one, they have no problem working with what your oncologist is doing and checking that information and making sure they're in harmony with the protocol. But here's what it normally looks like. There's a loading phase, there's a kill phase, and then there's a taper off phase in a cannabis protocol. Now, getting CBD into that person's body in a ramped up capacity, usually starting at around, let's say, day one of your CBD therapy is about 0 CBD, and you ramp up to 1,500 milligrams of CBD a day by the end of that month. And that's a lot. But again, it shows you how non-toxic it is. But you're getting into the huge doses when you're talking a cancer protocol. Month 2, so a protocol is usually 3 to 4 months. Month 1, you'll ramp up in CBD intake. Month 2, you'll stay at 1,500 milligrams of CBD a day and introduce THC, which is a very powerful, well, again, I'm not sure how much we can say, but I've seen reports that show that the THC molecule by itself will specifically target cancer cells and cause them, or move them into cell death. Okay, so we'll just leave it at that. So you move into the THC phase in the kill phase, and then you taper off both in your third and a half month. Now, usually what happens is a suppository is probably your best choice for the THC delivery, because the doses get so high that we talked about this, taking them orally right near the blood-brain barrier, that's going to go through the lining of your mouth and be right there, and it's like you're getting hit with a sledgehammer of THC in the first 30 minutes, and you'll most likely spend most of that month sitting in a lazy boy chair or on the couch. So go with the suppository for your THC delivery, because as we mentioned yesterday, THC delivered rectally will start to enter the system and start moving its way through the body, and it works on about 1 million different things, including potentially those cancer cells, before it ever gets to the blood-brain barrier, and by that time it's been consumed, and so there really is no THC arriving at the blood-brain barrier. So that's just a little more information for those of you who had asked about what a cannabis protocol looks like. And again,
what about brain tumor?
Absolutely, 1,000,000%.
What about rectally still? I mean, or you're not going to get very much up there?
No. So for a brain tumor, you're going to get high in this. I'm sorry, but you're gonna. But you want to take it orally.
Right.
You want to hold it in your mouth, as we talked. You want to get it through the buccal lining of your mouth and directly into your bloodstream, as close to the blood-brain barrier as humanly possible.
Got it.
For a brain tumor.
Good.
Now, because of that, you have to manage the high in that, okay? And sometimes people just don't have the luxury to be that high for that long. So CBD is going to become your best friend. And again, I've said this last time, I've seen CBD destroy cancer cells of and by itself.
Right.
You talk to this cannabis doctor on the island that I recommend. Month 1, 2, and 3, the biggest thing she's giving the body is CBD. She's throughout that protocol, that human's getting way more CBD than they are.
Is
THC.
that to reduce the inflammation?
It's to reduce the inflammation, but it also does target cancer cells itself.
All right.
So, dealing with a brain tumor, then your CBD is going to become your friend. You're going to pick your spots for THC properly, maybe before bed, right? And then during the day, you're probably going to stick to THC. So you're going to take that as close to the blood-brain barrier as possible, and again, ramp up, kill phase, and then a taper off phase.
Good.
Yeah. But again, get a doctor on board so that they can watch your blood work, okay?
Excellent. How are we doing?
Okay, what are the other big ones? Blood pressure was another one that came up multiple times. So the question was, can CBD help with blood pressure? And the answer is yes. There have been multiple studies on this. The most recent one was actually done in 2020, which is extremely recent, so it's very relevant to this. And they ran it on mice and they ran it on humans. And in both cases, they saw blood pressure come down with CBD. Now, that's for 2 reasons. One, CBD is helping to calm the nervous system. It's making us less anxious. It's making our stress response less. So, doesn't that just sound like it's going to lower your blood pressure and calm you down?
Well, that's what blood pressure is about.
Right? Number 2 is it's shown to be a vasodilator. So it's opening up the arteries in the blood veins a little bit more to, so the tighter that hose is, the greater the blood pressure. It's a vasodilator. So it loosens them up a little bit to help drop blood pressure. So the answer is yes, absolutely. And there's studies to prove it. But some of you are asking, what do I do about medication? Can I get off my current medication? That's something that I have to say you got to walk through with your doctor. Talk to your doctor about, go Google CBD and blood pressure. You will find articles, papers that you can show your doctor to get him to dig further, and he can go to his various portals and find more of the white papers on this kind of work. If he's unwilling to do so, maybe it's time to change doctors. But work with him to ramp up the CBD as you taper off your blood pressure medication. But yes, absolutely, you can manage it without the blood pressure medication. So I highly recommend getting onto a natural solution versus a pharmaceutical one. And there's only one other thing that I'll mention here, and that is mention to your doctor cytochrome P450. Cytochrome P450. That pathway is very relevant in some drugs and their interactions with CBD. Mention that to your doctor that you're talking to about your blood pressure medication, and ensure he looks into cytochrome P450 pathway. Thank you for your questions on it, everybody. Okay. Crohn's disease. So yes, Crohn's is a big one. That's a bowel disease.
Usually in the small intestine.
Yeah. So you're going to want to come at it from multiple ways. Okay. You're going to want to come at it with a suppository if you can find it. You're also going to want to take it orally. And in this case, you're going to want to probably take some gummies because they'll last a little longer and end up dropping that CBD a little deeper into the small intestine. Okay. It's an autoimmune disease. It's probably, in my opinion, it's got its root in gut inflammation. And so whatever you can do to lower systemic inflammation in the body is going to help Crohn's. It doesn't matter if it's CBD, Darrell's curcumin, other superfoods, ibuprofen, although I don't recommend taking that chronically. But this is an inflammatory disease that probably has its root in the bowel.
Yeah, it has its root there physically, but emotionally, it's where somebody's eating away at themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah, they call it lead pipe disease, and it's creating holes that are you've made a corrosive situation out of yourself, right? Well, what else would you do? Attack the self, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you really want to look at the mind on that one.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
Natasha, where can you? Okay,
where can you buy CBD? So you can buy our CBD in the United States from truenorthholistics.biz. In Canada, you're going to have to look for a licensed producer. So just Google search licensed producers in Canada, and they'll bring up a list that you can order from. Or in Canada and in the United States, most dispensaries that you can go into, even though they might be a recreational dispensary, they're going to have some CBD tinctures on their shelves. I can't comment on the US ones because what's in those recreational dispensaries in the United States, I don't know anything about those companies. I can tell you that in Canada, we have a very strict regulatory process here for medical and recreational cannabis and CBD, and you have to go through the most stringent work to become certified to create a CBD tincture and put it on a shelf here in Canada at a dispensary. So I can say with a high level of confidence, you can walk into a dispensary in Canada and pick up their CBD and it'll be healthy and non-toxic for you. I had one person also mention, where do I get it over in Europe or the UK, or who should I trust over there? Once again, look around, check the dispensaries, talk to the people who work there, see if it, be careful what you would find online, because it could just be someone throwing up a website. And they asked, what companies might you recommend? I have to say I'm not super up to date over the last 6 months of all of the companies there, but I know Indoca was a company that's been around in this business since the beginning. They've always had a sterling reputation. That's ENDOCA. They might be someone that you want to look at over there.
Diane, would CBD cannabis help with hypothyroid, GERD, hypertension?
Okay, so the hypertension I can answer easily, yes. That's going to help with that, as we kind of touched upon, the blood pressure issue. GERD, I'm not familiar with the acronym, so if somebody wants to quickly send that back in, we can talk about it. And hyperthyroidism, I know that there is a paper on it because I just did some work for an individual who's taking Synthroid, which is a thyroid medication, and we were looking at bringing CBD online and taking down their Synthroid levels. So don't have the answer to that completely with 100% accuracy on the top of my head, but I know those studies are out there.
Take a look at Infinite Iodine, and then look at Matthew's CBD.
Infinite Iodine for the thyroid.
That's
what
it.
I'd be doing. Yeah.
And then you've got your 1-2 punch.
I want to lose weight, inflammation, and toxins from the body. Would a combination of CBD and essential oils help with this? So I'll take the CBD part, you take the essential oils part. The answer is absolutely. So we've already talked about all the ways that CBD will reduce systemic inflammation. You had mentioned weight loss. So there have been many papers produced that show that CBD plays a role in appetite regulation. So many people are using it as an appetite suppressant. So it can work for those things. And then shedding toxins from the body. I guess not so much directly. Darrell would have some other things that are actually more specifically designed to grab those toxins and remove them. CBD is more of an anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at that, everybody, first of all, if you want to lose weight, essential oils are not the way to go. I'm not saying that they're not helpful. Our essential oils are pure, they're concentrated, but you want to be efficient. Everything is about efficiency, isn't it? Get the cork out, get your bowels moving, and then look at doing an ultimate coffee enema. And then guess what? Start making better choices. Stop going those places that stress you out, or those people that stress you out, or doing those things, and stop bringing inflammatory foods into your home. Seriously, anybody that's overweight is has an inflammatory mind and an inflammatory diet. End of story. But you know what? It's hard to take a look at things like that and make choices there. You know, we're looking for, well, maybe if I do this, then I won't have to do this. So if you do this and you don't do this, it may just slow it down, but it's still going to come a calling. It's like a Visa card, you know. You got to start making payments, which means you got to start making good choices.
So we've answered this one.
Yeah.
Scroll down to the next. We've done that one. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
We did this one.
Yeah, we did that, yeah.
Ashley, can it be used for metastasized prostate cancer into the spine? Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So again, that was why I went through that whole cancer protocol. Find a cannabis doctor, have them work with you to create this protocol for cancer, and get a hold of Dr. Wolfe.
Now, here's one for you, Matthew, and we never talked about this, or maybe we did. But the reality is I don't really believe that cancer metastasizes. Now, people are just going to go like this, oh my God, no, what is he? Because you know what? I believe that problem is it's the next weakest link, because the inflammation was never reduced or looked after. I just think, this is me, but if you go and read my guide called The Emotional Chemistry of Cancer, Disease, and Healing, I truly, look at, we always have cancer cells floating through the body all the time.
Well, a cancer cell, not
It's
to
inflammation.
jump in, but a cancer cell is just a normal cell.
I know.
That for one reason or another decides to replicate, and will do so at the expense of the tissue around it. Not smart, but something changed the messaging to that cell that caused it to replicate like crazy.
Inflammation that actually disturbs and causes the mitochondria to become dysfunctional. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the other. I just believe that if you stay inflamed long enough, you should be able to just blow your whole body up.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, and that's it. You know what? I don't believe in the other. Because if you read the article that I've put together, I try to go through it to a certain degree to show that it's impossible. But the reality is, it's a very convenient story for the medical system. Okay, Lydia. High blood pressure, we
yeah,
did
we'll
it.
talk about that.
Okay.
And no, don't go cold turkey. Do it in conjunction with your physician.
That's right.
Just to answer
Never
that.
go off your medication cold turkey.
So I think we got them all, didn't we?
We got them for today. There
All
are
right.
other ones that are on here, but
Okay, well, maybe we'll do another later.
we will get them off. Everybody who's put in the live ones, how about 2 weeks? We'll answer those, and then we'll pick a topic. Do you know what you want to talk about in 2 weeks?
Nope.
Nope.
Let me get back to you.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when he lets me know.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about. I like looking at the comments and to see what most people are interested in, because
Yeah.
we can take the conversation in any direction.
Well, you can
so
go through here later and then
Yeah,
just
exactly.
check it all out.
We'll figure out the main thrust of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. And please send in all your questions. Looking forward to answering them in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, everybody. And just so you know, I just heard that that iPhone was going to take Telegram down. So if they happen to do that, I'll be getting a different phone until they decide to take it down off of there. So if you've got iPhone, you might be losing Telegram. Right now, it's just a little rumor, but the reality is I heard about this before. And if you go to my Telegram, people, I just posted how you can go in on iPhone and help to block them from getting rid of my Telegram on your phone. Okay, so welcome to war. Okay, so all I want to say is I'll make this really short. So we got a group of people, okay, that got together and they orchestrated something, and they've been working on it for probably a couple hundred years. Seriously.
Yeah.
You don't think so, but that's okay. I don't really care. The reality is this, okay? They believe that they were the chosen ones for planet Earth, and there's too many of us, even though it was them that controls the media, them that controls Hollywood, them that makes all our food, and they're getting us to eat all their garbage food, all their toxic food, which makes us toxic here. We don't think right. They call us useless eaters. And they've decided that it's time to reduce the population on planet Earth. And they've made that decision for you and me. And the reality is everybody's running around. They think it's because of this, and this. But guess what? What would happen if you totally honored, loved, and respected yourself, and you didn't put up with any BS, any dysfunctional belief systems that went against that which created the universe, that which created you, and you totally honored yourself, and you believed that you deserved everything, and you weren't going to put up with anything anymore? Well, welcome to a new world, but that's probably not going to happen. But you still need to do it for yourself and your family. And what do you think, Matthew?
I think that's absolutely right. People say all the time, I can't grab my torch and pitchfork and go running down, the bad guys in this parliamentary building or these guys.
Mind your own business.
You got to take care of yourself, and you got to take care of your family, and that's number one. Take care of yourself first, your family second, and then by default, that vibration might infect another one of your family members.
Become the light of the world.
Exactly. That's
right?
all you can
Show
do.
people that in times of craziness that you can love, honor, and respect yourself, and show them the way, for God's sakes. Okay? So tomorrow I'm going to have Del Bigtree on, and it'll come on at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. He'll be off it'll probably be an hour to an hour and 15-minute show. The minute it's over, it goes to Telegram and it goes to BitChute. We cannot leave it on here. The next day, we're going to be doing a Q&A with Del. He never does these. It'll be at 10 a.m. And as soon as it's over again, it's leaving here and going to Telegram or BitChute. This is not to make you go to Telegram or BitChute. But the reality is it's not going to stay up anyways, because anything they don't like comes down. And understand something. Are you ready for this? Watch out if the internet doesn't come down. The whole internet. Okay? Who's in charge of the internet? It wasn't me and you. You know, when I was younger and I would see somebody come up with something like Netflix would come, I go, my God, whoever had that idea? Boy, they sure know how to make a lot of money. I wish I made ideas like that. And then you finally realize that it's only a few families that own everything, and they dispense all the information, they control all the information, and that's why you are an inflammation nation, because they make you believe that you're unworthy. Look at, they're even telling you not to breathe anymore. Go figure. Don't hold your breath on this one, okay? Because if you do, you're going to be in big trouble. All right? Just know this. I've got an upcoming course called New World Practitioner, and that's going to be happening in September in Ixtapa, Mexico. We're going to have a great time there. If you ever wanted to take a course, you know, I've got a 22-day training. You'll want to come and check that out.
And it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful spot. And also, in the fall, we're going to be starting which is called the Healthy to 100 Conference. It's a 3-day intensive training if you really want to learn how to create the perfect day for you and your family, and how you can take your life back, and who's really on your side anyway. Okay? All right? And let me see. That's about it. I just want to thank everybody for joining me. And remember, 3, 2, 1, we got this, Braveheart. Find your roar. You're so much more. Okay? And understand, don't let anybody talk down to you ever again, and don't talk down to anybody else. Mind your own business, and know this, that you've got a brain, but what really decides on how that brain works is what are your prominent, dominant beliefs. I'm a genius, I have unlimited potential, or I don't have any potential. You decide. Take care. So what is a New World Practitioner? Well, a New World Practitioner is somebody that understands. I don't know about you, but I want to tell you something right now. I've been there, and understand the majority of the population that I talk to, they're there right now. And do you know where there is? They're saying, yeah, I was told that I can have everything I want in this lifetime. So what is a New World Practitioner? I don't know about you.
G'day, I'm Dr. Darrell Wolfe. Do you know why you or your friends or your family are struggling with their health? Well, because they've never been given a strategy. And every time they go to see a health practitioner, whether it's medical or natural, all they're doing is getting Band-Aids. What if we were able to create a strategy that you could create the perfect day from the minute you woke up until you went to bed, and then we continue to guide and support you along your journey as you grow, your program grows. And what if you only paid one price, and you had unlimited support and guidance for the rest of your life? That's called the Perfect Day Consultation.